We often hold on to things that are already gone, driven by a fear that letting go is a betrayal of who we used to be. You carry the memory, the guilt, or the hope for a conversation that ended years ago. Eventually, you realize the weight of it has changed you. You aren't just holding a memory anymore, you're holding a chain. In a quiet village built along an old stone road, there lived a locksmith named Malen. People brought him their stubborn doors, their stuck chests, and locks that had forgotten the shape of their own keys. He could listen to the scrape of metal and understand exactly what was closed. But Malen carried one lock he refused to open. It hung around his neck on a leather cord. A small iron key, badly rusted and bent, stained the color of old blood. When the village children asked what it was for, he always gave the same answer. It belongs to a door I may need one day. It was the locksmith's great paradox. A man who spent his days freeing others from their stuck gates was choosing to tether himself to a key that no longer had a lock. Decades earlier, Malen lived in a house at the edge of the woods with a blue wooden door and an apple tree over the path. He lived there with his father. After his mother died, something small. Malen, fueled by the reckless certainty of youth, took the key to the blue door, tied it around his neck, and walked out. His father didn't shout. He stood in the frame of that blue door and said only one thing: "Come back when your heart is tired of being right." Malen didn't look back. Stubbornness turned a week into a decade. By the time Malen finally returned, a spring flood had collapsed the walls, and the villagers cleared the ruins. His father had died years before. The house was gone, replaced by grass and the wild apple tree. Malen kept the key. It was the only piece of that winter evening he could still touch, a physical anchor to the regret of a day he refused to turn around. Every evening after closing his shop, Malen walked to that grassy hill. He would stand exactly where the threshold used to be, holding the rusted iron in his palm. He spent years waiting for a sense of forgiveness that never arrived, standing before a door that existed only in his mind. One afternoon, a weaver named Nara came to his workshop with a broken wooden box. As Malen worked the lock, she looked at the rusted object on his chest and asked what it opened. When he told her it opened a door at the edge of the village, she didn't just nod. She told him to take her there and show her. On the hill, Nara watched him lift the key to the empty air. Malen felt a surge of anger, but as his hand shook in the wind, he realized the absurdity of the gesture. There was no wood, no metal, and no lock, just the wind through the grass. Nara told him what his heart had refused to see. A key is only a tool when the door still exists. Without the door, the key isn't a way in. It's just a way to keep your hand clenched tight against the present. The next morning, Malen returned to the hill with a shovel. He knelt under the old apple tree. The ground was cold and his hands trembled as he dug. But for the first time, he wasn't looking for a lock. He placed the key into the dirt and covered it. He finally gave his father the answer he had withheld for a lifetime. "I came back," he whispered. He went home before sunset that day. At first, the house felt disturbingly quiet, the silence of a life that had been on hold. But he lit the hearth. He opened the shutters to the autumn air. He sat in the light and simply noticed how much space he had been ignoring. Healing was a slow process of small repairs. He fixed his own broken gate latch. A week later, he invited a neighbor in. Eventually, he took on a boy from the village to teach him the trade, showing him how to turn a key without forcing it. Years passed, and while he still visited the apple tree, he no longer stood before the empty air. He sat in the shade, remembered his father, and returned home before dark with his hands free. You likely have a rusted key of your own. It might be a mistake you can't undo, an apology you never received, or a dream that belonged to a version of you who no longer exists. Tonight, look at that key and ask yourself if there is still a door. If the door exists, if the person is there, if the path is open, then use it. Make the call. Take the step. But if the door is gone, carrying the key will not bring the house back. It only ensures your hands are too full to build anything new. Leaving the past doesn't require you to hate it. It doesn't mean you've forgotten the door. It just means you've realized that some things aren't meant to be reopened. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is to stop standing in the cold waiting for a house that isn't there, and finally walk away with empty hands.